Hello everyone, welcome back again. My name is Jesse, and in this wonderful tutorial we're trying to see how to build a very simple news classifier app with Streamlit, right? So let's see what we're building. So it's going to be a very simple app. So if I go to BBC News, and then this is something about business, right? I'm going to try and classify this particular news on the category, whether it is business news, tech news, science news, as many as you want. So let's see. So I'm going to copy this particular news here, which is a business news. We want to classify and see whether it's actually a business news. So I'll copy it here and let's paste it inside it, right? So if I paste it here and I click, I can select the particular model that I want. So it can be logistic regression, for random forest, naive Bayes, or decision tree. So if I click on logistic regression, then I'll select classify. It's going to classify it and then give us the right prediction, what news we supplied. Perfect. So it's going to give us the original test, and then it's going to give us the category, which is very interesting, right? So we had it as business, even as here was business news, right? Very interesting. Let's try something different. Let's go to something like tech or something different, or let's pick something from the world using this particular news, right? Which is like business, but it's like tech, right? So let's try and see whether to be able to classify it as either business or tech. So this is about Elon Musk on Tesla. So I just copy it from here till maybe somewhere here, right? And then we'll try it and see whether it's going to give us the right prediction. So let's paste it. So come back to where our test is, clear of this, and then paste in our new test. And then we'll be using logistic regression model, then we classify it. So it takes some time to analyze the entire stuff and then give us the right result as expected. Perfect. So it has finished, give us the original test, then classify this one as also business. Very, very interesting. So that's not the only thing you can also do. You can also go to the NLP session, and then when you go to the NLP session, you can just select a particular NLP, right? That is in case you want to select the NLP. So you have two activities, either prediction or NLP. So if I go to the NLP, I can be able to select an NLP activity and then work on it. It's going to load it for NLP aspect. So this is the NLP session. So I can, the same test that I had here, I can select different stuff. I can choose to tokenize, I can choose to do name entity recognition. Then if I click on analyze, it's going to analyze it for us, only for the name entity recognition. Perfect. So this is what it's going to give to us. It's going to give us the original test, then it's going to give us all the entities there. So it was able to identify Tesla as an organization, Elon Musk as a person, Berlin as a geopolitical environment, Europe as a place, and Berlin as a geopolitical environment. Very interesting, right? So it's able to identify all the name entities inside, even including the date. Very, very interesting in a format of a JSON, which is quite nice. So that is not the only thing. We can also work on the tabulize. So if I click on the tabulize, I can be able to see the tokens and then the limits in a format of a table, right? So it's going to tabulate the entire stuff and give me a table of tokens and then limits. So let's try it and see. So it's loading. So this is going to be all the tokens, their limits, and then their part of speech. You can add many things to it. And then the final stuff is that you can also do a word cloud. It's going to give us the word cloud of the entire stuff. So it takes some time to analyze and give us a word cloud, which is going to be a picture of the entire tokens inside our test. So it's taking some time to analyze. Perfect. So this is going to be the word cloud, right? Very, very interesting. So Max Mr. said Tesla Berlin. Very, very interesting. So let's see how to build this wonderful app in this tutorial. So I'll set up everything. So let's start. So just going to position our stuff. All right. So this is what we'll be doing. So I'll close the first one that you're running, and then you start from beginning, right? So from here, if I go with tree, we only have our models folder, which has all the vectorizer and then the different models we'll be using for this particular stuff, right? For this particular app, we are not going to build our models. We have already built our models, so we are using them already prepared models and then the vectorizer to do our work. So let's create a file called app.py. It's going to be the file that you are creating. Very interesting. And then we open our Sublime. So let's see. So this our Sublime. So I come to my Sublime. I have my app.py file here. So this is where we'll be working and doing all the various logic. So let's start. So the basic stuff is that first of all, we're going to import Streamlit. In case you don't have Streamlit installed, can just go with pip install Streamlit, right? So that is how to work with it in case you don't have Streamlit installed. Then you also need to install sklearn, and then for scikit-learn, which is going to be scikit-learn, and then you also need to install pandas, and then the last one is you need to install job-lib, right? And then wordcloud. So wordcloud will help us with our wordcloud for the pictures, right? That is the basic stuff we need. Okay, so now let's start. So I'll just go back to my app.py, then I'm going to import our packages. So import Streamlit as st, and then we're going to import all the other packages that we need. So import job-lib to load our values, and then OS to help us with finding a path. Then we can also go with import spacy, which we'll be using to do our name entity recognition and our NLP stuff. So let's call that one as our NLP packages. NLP packages. Apologies for the noise. And then the next one is going to be for the other stuff for the image in the wordcloud. So this is going to be for our wordcloud stuff. Perfect. So let's start. So we have something very basic. So let's. Okay. So we're going to start working from scratch. I'm going to define my main function. Then from here, it's going to give us a description of what we'll be doing, which is going to be a simple app. So let's go to news classifier app, right? With Streamlit, something like with Streamlit. So that's the basic stuff you'll be doing. Now let's close it with our if main. Perfect. So let's give it something very basic. So st dot let's say title. It's going to be our news classifier ML app, right? Very interesting. So that's the basic idea. So now let's see what we have done so far. I'm just going to go back to my location where my files are, which is here, right? So let's exit to stop the other one, and then we can run it as Streamlit run, then our app.py, right? So it's going to open up file in our default browser. So whilst it is opening, let's see what you can do. So we have our basic title. Now let's do some other stuff you can do. So st.subheader. So say NLP and ML app with Streamlit, right? Something very basic. And then from here we can just move on to the other option of, let's open our URL on port 8502, which let's use Chrome because Chrome is cool, and I'll paste it here, right? Perfect. So now I see that it's loading it perfectly well as expected, right? What we type there, news classifier app with ML. So the first thing that we need to create an activity list. So it's going to be our activities, which is going to be one for NLP and then one for prediction. So let's go with the prediction first, and then one for NLP. This is going to be our two main activities. Perfect. So, and I'm going to go with st.sidebar, right? We're using the sidebar to do that. Sidebar dot select box. I'm going to select from this. So let's call it as choose activity, and then we pass in our list, which is going to be activity list, right? So this must be inside a particular variable called choice. Perfect. So now we are done with it. So if I save this one here and I refresh it, so if I let's rerun, we're going to see that we have our sidebar here, which gives us the option of selecting the prediction or the NLP, right? So these ones don't have any activity attached to it. So let's attach the activities to it. So it's going to be, come back down here. Let's expand this a little. Okay, so I'm going to first of all start my activities. So we're going to have two activities. So if our choice is equal to prediction, then do something, right? Then we're going to go to st.info. I'm going to say that prediction with ML, right? That is going to be the first one. Then also need to create another one for the other one, which is going to be if our choice. Let's go to NLP. Then you can give another one as st.info. Let's go as natural language processing, right? Perfect. So these are the two different tags. So let's try it and see. So I'll reduce this one. and then let's always run so that you see our changes continuously. Perfect. So now we have selected the natural language. If I choose a different option like prediction, now I can see it's prediction with ML. So we have our two different tags, right? You can even add a word cloud to it, but let's move on straight away. So to work with on our prediction, we're just going to have a place to receive our test, right? A place to receive our test and another place to do our processing. So let's give it something simple. So it's going to be st, let's put as news test. Then it's going to be our st.test. You can use test area because news can be quite a lot. Then we're going to say that enter test or news, yeah, right? Enter test. Then we just tell the user that you should type here. Perfect. So if I save it now, it's going to show it in our location. So instead we have it in this particular location here, right? So we have our test here. The person can type whatever you want to type inside this particular location. Okay, that is the basic idea. Apologies for how the audio has been coming and the noise. Okay, perfect. That's the first stuff. So the next thing we need to do is that we need to get all our ML models. So ML models, which is going to be for models, right? Then we're going to pass in all the various ML modules we'll be using. So we're using logistic regression, we'll be using naive Bayes, let's go to MB, we'll be using another one like, let's say, random forest, R forest, and then any other one we want to be using. Let's call it as decision tree, right? Cats, right? Okay, perfect. So that is something very basic. Then you can just go with our model choice, which is going to be an st.select box. Then we'll be selecting from this. So let's go to as choose, let's say ML model, right? Something very basic. Then now we can just pass in our model. So it's going to select from this our list, which is going to be our all models. Perfect. So let's save it and see what we have done so far. So let me bring this one here a little. So see that now we have the option of selecting a model. So we have our logistic regression, naive Bayes, random forest, and decision tree, right? Perfect. So that's the basic idea for the model. So the next thing is that we need to let me reduce this one. The next thing that we need to be able to apply our models, load our models from our models folder, which is found here, right? Which consists of all our vectorizers and then our models, right? Which we have already prepared. So let's see how to do that. So in that case, we're just going to create some various dictionaries. So first of all, let's create our prediction labels. So prediction labels. So the prediction labels is going to be the various labels we'll be using. So we'll be using, let's say, business news. Business is equal to 0. This is from the previous. This is from a whole different tutorial when we're preparing the models. Then tech news is going to be for something else, right? So tech news is going to be another one. So I'll copy it and paste it so that it becomes faster. Perfect. So these are the various prediction labels we're using. So in case the person in case the result is 0, it's going to pick as business, right? So that is the basic idea for the prediction labels. Now let's work on our models, which is going to be, first of all, we need to vectorize our test and then we move on. So I'm just going to create a button. So ft.st, said ft.st. So I'm going to do if st.button is equal to, let's say, classify, right? Then do something. So if that is the case, if it's equal to this, then classify. Then I'm going to go with st.test. Then I'm going to give our original test, so original test. Then let's use a string format, dot format. I'm going to pass in our news test. Perfect, right? So that is the basic idea. So let's bring a new line here. So that is the basic idea. So let's try what you've done so far. So if I paste in any test here, so we have our test. Let's paste in hello world. So if let's write on click classify, we have to see our pivot. It is working as expected, right? So we have our test already working as expected. Very nice and very interesting. So we can actually bring this one here in front instead of it being at the back. So let me paste it here, right? So that if I save it now and then if I run it, classify, it's going to bring our test here. Perfect. So that is nice. So that we have done something very interesting. Now let's move on the next. So the next thing that we have to convert our test into vectors, right? So that the ML model will be able to understand, right? So first of all, let's go to vect text. Then we just apply the particular test. So we'll be using our something very new. We have to create our vectorizer. So let's import our vectorizers, which we have already downloaded, which is already in our models folder here, right? We have our models folder, we have our news vectorizer. So we'll be using that one to work on it. So let's create a function to do that. So let's call this def. You can either create a function, but let's first of all just load it straight away. So news then vectorizer. Our news vectorizer is going to be going to open a file, open our models folder. Inside our models folder, we go and pick our final news CV vectorizer, right? Vectorizer.pickle, which is referring to this particular file here, right? This file. So we have been able to open the file. So after opening the file, we need to open it as read byte, and then we will load it. So it's going to be RB to read it perfectly. Then we're going to call it as news CV for count vectorizer. Then we're going to use joblib. So joblib.load our news vectorizer. Perfect. So we have been able to load it. So this is going to be used to vectorize it. Now let's create another function to load our models. So the first one, this function was for our vectorizer. This is not a function, right? This was for our vectorizer, and this is going to be for loading our model. So we're going to create a function called load prediction models, which is going to take our particular model, right? So let's work on it. Say that pick the model file, let's call that model file, and then when it goes into it's going to pick that particular model file that you are selecting. Then we are going to create a variable called loaded models. Then we're going to pass in joblib.load. Then you open the file, which is going to be our os.paths.join. You can just go without that, right? Perfect. And then from here, I'm just going to open it as read byte, right? So this is going to be this, then read byte. Perfect, right? So we are reading it as byte. Hope everything is well. Yeah, perfect. Okay, then we're going to return our loaded model. Perfect, right? So from here, we have our function to load our prediction models and to do the prediction, and we also have our vectorizers. So now let's vectorize our stuff, which is going to be our news CV dot transform. We have to transform our text into something that the ML algorithm will be able to understand, into numbers, into vectors. So let's go with this particular option. So I'm just going to put inside an array. Then I'll just move on to say that it's supposed to be vectorized, to be converted to array, right? So that is how it's going to be done. Perfect. So it is with this vectorized test that will be doing our prediction on. Perfect. So now let's load our models. I just go with if our model choice is equal to LR, right? If it's equal to LR, then load our logistic regression model, right? So we're going to go with predictor. Then I'm going to pass in our load prediction models. I'm going to pass in my models folder / our news classifier logit, which is referring to this particular model that we have here, right? Logit model dot pickle. Very simple, right? So it's going to load that particular stuff and store inside this particular variable called predictor. Then use this predictor variable to do our prediction. So it's going to be our predictor. Let's go to prediction. Let's go to our predictor dot predict, right? And I'm going to pass in our vec test. Okay, so that is the basic idea. So let's save it and let's see what you have done so far. Okay, so let's use st.write to see what you have done, right? Prediction. Okay, so let's save it and let's see what you have done so far. So if I come back to my here, I hope it doesn't have any errors. Perfect. So let's paste in some text. So I'm just going to pick some news somewhere, or I have some text here, right? So I have some text here. So let's try with this. This is going to be politics, right? So let's copy this one here, and then let's paste inside our app. So I'm going to paste it here. Then let's use the logistic regression. That's the only one we have, right? And let's classify. So I hope it works perfectly without giving us errors. But one of the errors you may receive is that sometimes the kind of serialization package or tool that you use can affect it, right? So in case you use sklearn joblib, you have to use sklearn joblib to load it, right? That is something you have to know. So it has able to give us 4, right? So 4 according to our prediction here, our labels here, 4 according to our prediction label is politics. Very interesting, right? Perfect. So we have to make sure that the user is able to see that the 4 here this 4 here means prediction. So how do we do that? So let's create another function to help us with that. So I'm just going to go back to the top here, then let's call it as def.get value or get key. I think it's key better, get keys. Then I'll pass in my value, then the dictionary that you have. So my dictionary, right? Then I'm going to pass in, so I'll pass in the value that the person have, like this 4, and I'll compare it with the dictionary, which is my prediction label. Very interesting. So the next stuff is that I have to go with, so for key and then value can be for k and v in my dictionary dot items. Then I'm going to loop through it, and then if my value is equal to the value, right? If the value, this 4 is equal to the value there, then return the key. Something very basic, right? So in case you have not subscribed to this channel, you can also subscribe, and then you can also check the links below for some interesting courses to help you to master machine learning as well as to master building web applications. Okay, so perfect. Let's move on. So now I can bring this get key value here, right? Instead of my prediction here, I can actually bring it as, let's call it as, let's say, final result, which is going to be our get key value, right? Get values. Then I'll pass in first of all my prediction. Then the next one is going to be my prediction label. So prediction label. Perfect. So if I save it now and I run it, I have to print this one out. So let's print it out. Go in st.test, and I'll pass in my, or let's use info so that it looks nice, or success. Then I'll pass in my final test. So let's save it, and then let's see what you have done so far. So using the same test we had, you're trying to find the result. So if I go with classify, it's going to classify it. Perfect. Instead of giving us policies, right? Very, very interesting. So that means that we don't need this one again. We will need it. So the basic idea is that you're first of all going to use test area to receive the test. Then you're going to select your model. Then you're going to use job-lib to load your model, right? After you have vectorized your test here, then just do your prediction. Very interesting, very simple. So I'll just, that's the basic idea. So I'll copy the remaining ones, so which is going to be for our if model choice is equal to naive base, right? Then do the same thing. So I'm just going to copy the same thing and paste it there because it's going to be the same result. But I'll put this final result at the end of it. So let's copy it and paste it there. So I'll copy it and paste it here. Perfect. So we have our logistic regression, we have our random forest, we have our naive base, we have our cards. Let's call this one as decision tree, right? So that it match up, so that the person knows actually what it's picking. So decision tree. Perfect. So we have our decision tree. Perfect. So everything is working as expected. Very, very interesting. So the final result will be sent, will be inside this prediction, then we place here, then you bring it out. So let's try it again and see what you've done so far. So I'm just going to classify the same stuff we have. Let's rerun our app. So it's rerunning our app. Perfect. So let's try to classify using logistic regression. So the new is supposed to be classified as perfect, right? So name can't get key, so we have to change this one to see the disadvantage of cut and paste. This is supposed to be get keys. I'm going to identify it. Then, so if I go with classify, it's going to give us the result. Perfect, right? So everything is working. So new classified as policies. Very, very interesting. So we are done with the ML aspect. So the basic idea is that you just have to get a test area, then you select your different models. That's the basic idea. Now let's move on to the NLP aspect, right? How do we add the NLP aspect to this particular stuff? So let's see how to do that. So I'm just going to expand this one here, and then we move on to the NLP. So we'll be using the same stuff we did here to collect the test, which is going to be the same stuff. Going to pass in our test. Very interesting. And then from here, I'll just do the NLP aspect. So I can move on and give it as NLP task. And I'll give it a list of all the various tasks. So I can go with tokenization. It's going to be one of the tests. Then we also have name entity recognition. Then the last one is going to be, let's say, anything that you want. Let's say lemmatization, right? Lemmatization. So what is the difference between lemmatization, and then statement, Okay, very interesting. So that is the basic task we'll be doing, and then we use the normal stuff that we have been doing for the task choice. Let's go to task choice. Then go to select. So st.select box. I'm going to pass in our, so choose NLP tax. Perfect. Then the next one we're going to pass in our NLP tax, right? NLP tax. Perfect. Something very basic. So that's the basic idea. Now let's create a button. So if st.button, I'll pass in our test called analyze. So we're going to analyze the test. Then we're going to use the same thing that we did. So let's give our st.info for the original test, which is going to be original test. So the original test is going to give us as this. Use format, and then we pass in our news test, right? Perfect. That's the basic idea. Then we need to create our NLP object. So NLP dot our news test. So before this NLP have to be imported from space. So I'll just go to the top of my file and let's uncomment this one out. Then let's create an NLP object. So NLP, go to spacy dot load en. We are using the English model for spacy, right, to do our name entity recognition and our tokenization. You can also use test blob if you want. Okay, perfect. So we have created an NLP object. So let's call it as docs. Perfect. So then we're just going to go there. If our task choice is equal to tokenization, then do this. Then let's call our result. I'm going to create a list comprehension, which is going to be token.test, then for token in our docs, right? Something very basic. So let's save it and see what you have done. And now let's bring this on out. So I can just use the normal JSON to do that. So st.json, and I'm passing my result. So let's save it and see how far you have done. So perfect. You have some interesting. It's loading to because that's identified the various changes. Perfect. So let's pass in something very simple. So Streamlit is cool. So Streamlit is cool. Streamlit is very cool. It makes our work so easy. So if I click on analyze, it's going to analyze it and then give us our tokens, right? Perfect. So that's giving us our Streamlit is cool. That's the tokenized test. So we have to pass in our news test, right? We forgot this one. Okay, it seems that today I'm tired, but anyway, let's move on. You should not be tired. You should always keep on keeping on. Okay, perfect. So that is working perfectly as expected, right? So you're going to see our original test and then our tokenized test. So you have been able to work on our tokenization. Now let's add another one for our. So if task choice is equal to NER for name entity recognition, I'm going to go with result. Then I'll pass in the name entity recognition, which can be in several formats, right? So I can just go with entity dot test, then entity. Let's expand it so that you see it well. It's going to be entity dot label, and don't forget the bar, right, to make sure that it gives us the right stuff. Then I'm going to go with for entity in our docs.ents, right? So that's going to give us our entity. Then the next stuff we need to do is we can move on to the other one. Perfect. So that is going to be for the name entity. So let's add another one. Let's add part of speech tagging to POS, right? Tag to it, so that at least we have more, right? Not only just this little one tags. So perfect. So now it's going to be the same stuff. So I'll copy and paste it so that it becomes easier. So perfect. So we have, if the task is tokenization, give us this. If the task is lemmatization, give us this, right? These are something very basic spacey stuff. And if it is NER, give us this. And if it is part of this part tagging, give us this particular stuff. Very, very interesting and very simple. Perfect. So let's bring this result here down, right, outside here, so that no matter the kind of stuff you're going to choose, it's going to give us the same result. Perfect. So let's save it and let's see what you have done so far. We're going to analyze it, detecting the changes, right, and then we will see the result that you have so far. Perfect. So let's choose something different. So if I go back to, let's say part of this tagging. Now we're going to analyze, click on analyze, going to analyze and give us a JSON format of the analyzed part of speech tagging. I can't say it. Oh God. Okay. So perfect. So that it's given us our original test and then the tokens as well as their part of speech. This is nice, but I think it's better we add tabularization to it to make it in the format of a table. So let's see how to do that. So that one is going to be another function or another button. So it's going to be fst.button. Then let's go to tabulate, right? Tabulate or tabulate, which is quite cooler and quite nicer. Then in that case, it's going to be our docs that we have. And then I'm going to pass in our NLP. Then I'll pass in our news test, right? Perfect. Then we tabulate it. So let's see how to do that. So in tabulizing it, we'll be using pandas data frame to do that. So I'm just going to go with the same thing. So C tokens, which is going to be the same stuff we had here for the tokens here. So I'll copy it and paste. Then we also have another one for our other stuff. So we need this one for our limits. So let's go to C limits, custom lima. Then I'll paste in this, right? So the same thing. Then the last one is going to be for part of speech. You can add as much as you want. C post, right? Then you can just pass in the same thing we had. So it's going to be this option here without the format, the string formatting. So this, now paste it here. Okay, so we are done with it. We have gotten a list of our tokens, our lemma, and our part of speech target. Now we can just use a normal pandas. So let's go to df, use a normal pandas format to create it inside as a data frame and then as a table, right? So it's going to be pd.data frame. Then I'll pass in my test, which is going to be, I'll use zip to combine our C tokens and then our C lemma and then our C part of speech. Perfect. So as a zip, right? Then I'm going to apply the column, so I can actually select the column names. So the column names is going to be, first one was tokens, the next one was what do we call it? The next one was lemma, then the final one was POS, right? Part of speech target. Perfect. So now we can, I'll put this one as data frame, then our new data frame. Perfect. Something very basic, but you have to import pandas because you have not imported pandas at the top here. So let's import pandas. So I'm just going to call it as our EDA packages. So EDA packages is going to be import pandas as PD to help us. So let's save it and let's see what you have done so far. So it's going to analyze and see the change. So as it's seeing the change, perfect. So I can just click on tabulize. That's going to pick this test, then convert them into tokens, limits, and then into part of speech target, right? It's going to bring that. Perfect. So let's see that has given to us in this very nice format, right? See the format given to us. This format is not the best, but let's try and see how to work with the lemma format. So that means that you have to go back to, this place, and then let's take off this. We take off the test, right? And I'm going to take off the same test. We already know the test already from the tokens, so we just take it from here, right? And then we can just take off this stuff that we only have one. So if I save it now and then let's run it again, you can actually see the difference, which is at least better than the previous one. Okay, so let's see what you have done so far. So if I click on tabulize, it's going to give us the table. Very, very interesting. So now this is better, right? This is better than the previous one. So that's the basic idea. So now we know how to do the NLP aspect. Now we know how to tabulize by using pandas and then zip, right? So you are able to get our tabulization. Now let's see how to add our last aspect of the word cloud. So let's go to if st.checkbox. Let's use checkbox, right? Checkbox. Go to, let's call it as word cloud, right? Then we'll be using word cloud to do that. So if st.checkbox go to word cloud, then we work on it. So I'm just going to have our test. It's going to be our, let's go to our C test, right? Can be any stuff. Then we can just pass in any stuff. Then we can just go straight away with our word cloud. So let's go to word cloud. I'm going to pass in our test, which is going to be our word cloud. So first of all, let's import word cloud from above, which is going to be in this particular format. It's going to be from this format. So from word cloud, right? Import capital word cloud. Right, that's the basic stuff. That's the basic stuff that you can add stop words and all of these things to it. Then let's also work on image. So let's go just from pillow. We may not need it, but we can also import it. Import image, right? Something very basic. So we have our word cloud imported from our word cloud, and now we can work on it. So there's a syntax error somewhere. So let's go back down, and then now we can work with our word cloud. So this is going to be our word cloud, the one we imported from above, to do our word cloud stuff. So it's going to be capital. So word cloud, right? Dot generate. Then we are going to generate a test. We're going to pass in our test. So the test that we have was our new test. So this is supposed to be a function, right? Perfect. So word cloud or generate test, that's all. So this is going to generate a word cloud for us, and then I'm going to put this one as a format of an image, right? As a format of a plot. So be using normal plot or matplotlib. So .im show. Then I pass my word cloud, small letter. Then I'll go with interpolation. Let's make it as linear or bilinear, right? Bilinear. Perfect. So let's save that one. But before we work on it, if I go with st.pyplot using Streamlit pyplot, I have to first of all import pyplot here. So I have to import our visualization. So it's going to be import matplotlib dot pyplot as plt. Then we need to import matplotlib. Then we're going to use matplotlib dot use agg, right, to keep it from getting an error. Perfect. So that is the basic idea. So this is going to help us with our plotting. So now let's come back to here and let's save it, and let's see what we have done so far. So if I go with the word cloud, let's see whether it's going to give us some plots. Taking some time to analyze, and voila, right? Streamlit is cool. It wasn't able to bring the cool because it's automatically tokenized or automatically strip off stop words, right? Is a stop word. So now we have to take off this particular stuff because this is not user friendly. So we can do that by going with plt.asis. Then I'm going to set that one to off. So if I save it now and I run it back again, now it's going to bring Streamlit is cool without the ASICs, right? Very, very interesting. That is the basic idea behind what you are building. Perfect. Very interesting. So that is the basic idea. So the basic idea that first of all, you just have to import your packages, Streamlit, joblib, to help us with our loading of our models, which are already prepared here. We need our vectorizer and our normal models. Then you use spacy to help us with our tokenization and name entity recognition. We use pandas to help us to tabulate our data. We use word cloud to do our wonderful word cloud. Then use matplotlib to help us together with this. We not even use this. Perfect. Then you vectorize it, open our vectorizer, create a function to load our models, and then want to get our keys so that the user will be able to see the word that is being predicted, and then we do the other one. So thank you for watching this long tutorial, and apologies for the sound and apologies for the disturbance. I hope you have got something. In case you have not subscribed to this channel, you can also subscribe, and please check the links below for some interesting courses to help you master Python as well as Julia, and then building machine learning web application. Thank you, and stay blessed.